Hey guys, this is BaseP86. This is part 2 of my video response to BigFatGreekAtheist, who made a video response to my video, Are All People Born Atheists? I stopped myself by talking about the roots for the term atheism, a meaning negation, in other words, not or without, theos meaning God, and ism meaning belief system or proposition or anything like that. And then I basically stopped myself in the middle of comparing how the term agnosticism is and how every other term that has the same prefix and the same suffix is defined in such a way, whereas atheism defines itself a completely different way. So basically, if you take a look at the term agnosticism, agnosticism basically means, the general definition, is that it is a position in which God is not knowable, a claim that God is not knowable, or a belief that God is not knowable. That's strong atheism, and then you have the weak, that's strong agnosticism, and then you have the weak agnosticism, which is that a claim that God is unknown, but is not necessarily unknowable. But if you look at agnosticism, despite the fact that there are two different stances of agnosticism, you have to look at it they're both defined on the same on the same principle. Basically, agnostic, when you say that God is unknowable, you're basically saying agnosis. A is the prefix, gnosis is the root. Agnosis means unknowable, or not knowledge or without knowledge, and basically you're saying, and basically with agnosticism, the prefix is negating the root. And if you take a look at other terms that have the same prefix and the same suffix, it would be the same thing, such as basically a communism, a liberalism, a conservatism. If you look at something like a communism, it's basically a state of government that does not contain any communistic principles, basically something like that. A liberalism is a type of government that is not liberal. But basically, all these definitions follow the exact same criteria that the term agnosticism follows. Basically, the prefix negates the root. And we have to remember the root is the defining point of the term. It is not the suffix or the prefix. Well, the suffix more specifically. Ironically, atheism does not follow the same criteria. At least the term for atheism. If you look at the definition, lack of belief in God. First you have the lack, which comes from the a prefix. Then you have the belief, which is the suffix, and then you have the root. Atheism, out of all these terms that have the a prefix and the ism suffix, atheism is the only term in which the a prefix negates the suffix. And all of the other terms have the prefix negating the root. My question is, why is it that agnosticism is defined in such a way that the prefix negates the root, but with atheism, the prefix negates the suffix? Why is that? Especially if you take a look at both different types of atheism. Basically, if you take a look at the implicit atheism, it's basically saying just a general lack of belief in God. But if you were to define strong atheism being basically saying that God does not exist, then it's actually following the same criteria that the term agnosticism is following. You're understanding what I'm saying? If you were to define just like a regular lack of belief in God, it doesn't follow the same criteria as agnosticism, but the term for strong atheism does follow the same criteria. So why is atheism defined as a lack of belief in God? Why is it defined that way? It seems to me like there's a double standard here. And I really mean no harm by this. I just feel that this is not a very valid way of defining atheism if all the other terms with the same prefix and same suffix are followed a completely different criteria. It doesn't make sense. But let's, for the sake of argument, just grant, for the sake of argument, that there is no equivocation fallacy. Let's just grant that. Does that prove that atheism is true? Or prove that theism is true? It doesn't. Whether or not all people are born atheism, that doesn't prove that atheism is true, which actually doesn't make sense if you were to say that atheists have that newborn atheists don't have aware of a concept of God, so how can that be true? Which wouldn't really make sense. It doesn't prove atheism, especially because that would be the appeal to popularity, which is a fallacy, saying that more people are in this kind of position, so to speak, therefore that must make it true. Also, do we even know that all people are born atheists? How do we know this? A lot of people will say, because we see that if you ask a newborn as to whether or not he thinks God exists, he would look at you completely confused. And then but ironically, if you define God by saying, oh, he's this, he's that, and the child says, oh, it kind of looks like he understands what you're saying, but at the same time, the terminology is what is throwing him off. So it seems to me like the evidence for whether or not people are born atheists can point either way, because the child may not associate the idea or concept of a God with the same term, with the actual term God, but he may understand it in a completely different way that does not necessarily involve terms. He may involve it by by visual something, or by something visual or something audible, anything like that. But he may not necessarily associate it with the term. So I think that we don't really have a strong position for atheists or theists to claim that people are either born atheists or born theists. I think we should be in that neutral stance and claim that we ultimately don't know if people are born atheists. And I don't mean any harm by this. I do not mean this in any condescension. I'm giving my ultimate reasons as to why I disagree. And I just hope people can understand that and just respect that. And I will completely understand your reasons for respecting that, even though I don't agree with them. But basically, that's my reason as to why I strongly disagree with you, Big Fat Atheist. Not that I'm actually calling you a name, that's your screen name. And to all the other atheists. I mean no harm by this. This is just all my logical reasons, all my, just basically my logical reasons as to why I don't think that all people are born atheists, nor do I think that defining atheism as a lack of belief in God is a sufficient definition. So those are my basic reasons, and I appreciate everybody watching this video. Please comment or subscribe to my channel if you like. I'll be posting up more videos. So this is my position on what I think about people being born atheists. And regardless of whether or not you disagree with me, love and respect to you just the same. So y'all take care, see you at my next video, and God bless.